Perfect.
Okay, so I want to welcome Deb Erickson. I met her at the Most Powerful Women in Network Marketing event and got to do an interview with her and just really found that we have the same kind of thought process in terms of business and how women tend to have some major blockages in terms of success, in terms of working the business as fully as we can. And so Deb is here to spend the next half an hour with us to just talk about mindset shifts. Very careful with that.
Exactly.
All right. You want to take it away?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hey, thanks for having me. What I did, guys, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about myself. I'll tell you, I am a mindset expert. I've been working in the field of network marketing for 25 years. Was a consultant and a leader myself on multiple occasions. And now I have my own company where that is my focus. 100% I focus on women in network marketing around the world who are finding that they've got either a mindset block or an emotional stopper. Something's getting in the way of their success. That's where I focus. So what I want to do is I'm going to share my screen. I've got a couple of fun slides I want to show you guys. And I will rock through some of this information, and then we'll come back and answer any questions you guys have. But we want to talk about releasing fear and kind of opening up to abundance, whether that is in the area of sales and recruiting or team building, whatever it is you're doing. We're going to talk about the importance of releasing fear and how fear blocks you and stops you. So quickly, we're gonna just kind of rock and roll. There is a part of the brain, simply we're gonna call it the fear center, but that part of the brain is the most powerful. You got to hear that, the most powerful piece of the brain, and it is a very primitive piece of the brain. It reacts without a lot of intellectual support. So in other words, it's not a very smart part of the brain, but it's a very powerful piece of the brain. And what it does is it looks at life experiences, whatever's going on in your life, and it says, ooh, that's really scary, or that could hurt, or that could be a threat, I better protect. And so when it protects, it is responding with fight, flight, or freeze. Now, what's really interesting is there's 3 possible responses. The most powerful response is fight, which means lean in, face your fear. A lot of guys do this. Some women are trained to do that, whether it's because of an athletic background or just your personality trait. But there aren't a lot of women who are naturally wired to lean into the things they're afraid of. Most women, and this is one of the most destructive responses we can have, want to run away, or the most common response is to freeze. And freeze simply just means it's kind of that energy where you're frozen, right? Where it's like, you know what you need to do, but you can't get yourself to do it because you're anxious. You could be afraid of a failure. You could be afraid of success. You could be afraid of rejection. You could be afraid of judgment. FOMO, afraid of being left out. In other words, all of these things are possible. The question I got to ask you today is where do you think you land, right? So are you a fighter? Are you a runner, or are you a hider, or maybe a combination of any or all around your business? But what I want to do for just a second is talk about the 2 most important pieces of your business that you've got to get into these 2 actions, which is sharing your product, right? And sharing the opportunity. Those are the 2 things you just gotta. Otherwise, you don't really have a business. And yet, this is probably where our fear center gets triggered the most. Because we're anxious about judgment. We're anxious about what people are going to say. All of the things, you guys know the fears that you might have around it. Here's what I want you to know about those fears, is that your fears are controlling what we call your neuro set point. And your neuro set point, some people call it your comfort zone, your safety zone. But think of it this way, your brain lives in a box, just to make it visually easy. It lives in a box. And inside is the known, outside of that is the unknown, right? Now, what's interesting about your comfort zone, guys, is that you came into Young Living with a set point. And normally what happens is you can grow your business to the edge of your set point or your comfort zone with relative ease. So if you're the person that came in and bam, you started sharing the products like crazy and everybody's in love and you were having a lot of fun, and then all of a sudden things slowed down, momentum slowed down, got a little tougher, more fear was coming up, then you probably were approaching the edge of this set point. When you approach the edge of the set point, you have a goal over here, right? Maybe it's to rank advance. And when your goal lives outside of this set point, something really interesting happens. While you're still in this comfort zone, things are easy, there's momentum, there's joy, there's happiness, you're loving it. As you get closer to the edge, you find growth starts slowing down, you start being more frustrated, right? And then as you hit the edge here, all of a sudden, bam, fear shows up, right? I won't know what to do. I won't be able to maintain it. What if I get there and there's expectations? What if I can't, what if I can't repeat it every single month? So then your brain starts telling you all kinds of stories about why you shouldn't push past. Now, if you are the kind of person that responds to fear by leaning in, right? Here's what you will do. You will just kind of bear down. You'll use force, willpower, discipline, and just make it happen, all right? And there are people that do it and do it well. They just kind of decide, I'm gonna do it no matter what. And what's interesting about it, guys, is that when you're pushing through fear like that, you can achieve this goal, but then something really interesting happens. You wake up the next day and your set point is still sitting back here. Even though you've achieved something special, your set point is still back here. And so this part of the brain is pulling you back towards the comfort and ease and known of what you were before. So it doesn't really matter what the goal is. Could be bonuses, incentive trips. It can be literally anything. If it lives outside this set point, then you are either going to slow momentum getting there, or once you cross this barrier, you'll have to face your fears. You'll have to face kind of those judgments, those internal stories that you tell where you're scaring yourself. That's the bad news. The good news is we can just stretch the comfort zone, right? Stretch your mental set point so that instead of the set point being here, your set point can be out here. People always ask me about this point in time. They say, well, how do I know what my set point is? It's really easy. Look at your bank account. Look at your current rank. Look at what is. If your momentum has slowed or stopped, you're probably at the edge of your set point. If you have advanced and then fallen back, right, and advanced and fallen back, the place that you come back to is your set point. And so what we want to do as consciously competent leaders, what we want to do is say, okay, look, I get it. This is my set point. I was born with this. I created this as a young person. This is my known. This is where the brain wants to hold me. And I'm not willing to settle. I want to stretch it. And then using tools and techniques, right, we can actually extend this mental and emotional set point. So basically, as we talk about fear, I want to be really specific, and I want to talk about you being able to share. Let's just pick something, share the opportunity. So in other words, you want to grow your business, you want to add people, leaders to your team so that you can build an organization, create the kind of leveraged income we all know is possible. So here's what you do. Your brain's blueprint, and think of it as like your core beliefs. They are running the show. And so this is the beginning point of everything, those core beliefs. Your core beliefs inspire your thoughts. Those thoughts create an emotional reaction. Those emotions push you into action or non-action, and that action or non-action gives you results. Now, what some people do, guys are most comfortable with this strategy, is they say, I don't like the results I'm getting. Let me just go take more action. Let me just force, they're comfortable with that force energy. And so they simply say, I'm going to do more, right? I'm just going to make more calls. I'm just going to force myself. I'm just going to make this happen. But what's happening is you're kind of going against the flow here. Now, if that works for you, if you are the kind of person that leans into fear and you can force action and you're okay with that, fabulous. Keep doing what's working for you. But if it's not working, right, then I want you to see what's happened here is you are simply moving against the flow. It's kind of like you put your boat in the river and you started paddling upstream. Can you get upstream to a destination? Yeah, if you paddle hard enough and long enough. But what happens as soon as you stop is that the natural flow of the river is going to begin to pull you back, right? It's going to pull you in the direction it was already pulling you. So let's talk about how fear controls, right, the self-talk. So if you have a thought like, I can't do it, I can't recruit, I can't find people, I can't present, I can teach products all day long, I love the oils, and so I can do that well, but when it comes to sharing the business, I got issues, right? That I can'tness is going to create doubt, and that doubt is going to cause you to stop. So basically what happens is you go into procrastination, you self-sabotage, you go into avoidance, you make up excuses. And that stopping behavior is going to create failure. And what I mean by failure is really stuck energy. So the truth is, if you keep holding the same core beliefs and you keep thinking the same thoughts that create the same emotions that cause you to stop, then here's the bad news, guys. You've come as far as you're going to go. This is pretty much it. Okay? Because this is a well-worn path. So what we have to do is change our core belief that inspires a brand new thought, right? That thought is, I can't do it. I can find the people I want. I can speak the message clearly. I love this. I can do it. I love it. I can do it. I will do it. I want to do it. We've got to change this language. And when we do that, it inspires confidence, and the confidence causes you to move into the go, right? And then the motion, you take action. Of course, now you get results. I know it sounds simple, guys, but it is. It really is that simple, that there's simply, if you are not sponsoring, recruiting, enrolling, if you're not engaged in those interactions, I guarantee you, you've got some thoughts and some language that is not supporting success. So basically, you've got two sides of the brain. Well, I'm not talking about right side, left side. I'm talking about mechanisms in the brain that cause you to stop, and mechanisms that cause you to go, move forward. So the motivation center of the brain, the go center, located up front, excuse me, you'll have an idea, you'll be inspired. I think I'm going to reach out to Susie today, and bam, if the motivation center of the brain is active, you move into motion with ease and grace and joy. And if the stop center of the brain gets activated, take your hand and grab your hair by the scuff of the neck, pull yourself back. That's what it feels like. It feels like you want to move forward. You're saying, I want to move forward, right? You probably have told Carol, I'm doing it. I'm going to do it. It's going to happen. And then this part of the brain gets activated and bam, it's pulling you back. So here's what's really interesting. The motivation center lives in the conscious mind. And the conscious mind only represents about 3% of the power to change your life. Let me just say this, your conscious mind is critical. I mean, absolutely critical, because without it, you don't have awareness and you can't make choices. So it's critical, but this is where your willpower and discipline live. So when you're forcing change to happen in your conscious mind, you are using willpower and discipline. You're kind of in force energy. So that means that the autopilot subconscious part of your brain is 97% of the power. This is where your programming lives. It's one of the reasons that, hypnotherapy is so powerful, because you're working really on this part of the brain. And when you change the autopilot, you change the destination, right? So everything changes when this part of the brain can get on board, and you become the boss of your brain consciously, and you reprogram your autopilot. Now, the beautiful thing is, we know that the brain has neuroplasticity, moldability, right? And so we used to think everything was hardwired in, and whatever you had, you had. You know why we thought that? Because people repeated patterns over and over and over. Therapists call this it's like you are compelled to repeat patterns, right? Repetition compulsion. You're compelled to repeat the patterns. And so we used to think, well, you must just be hardwired in because you're just repeating those patterns over and over. Now we know it's not hardwired. You do have to rewire. You do have to know how to do that, and you have to put in the time and energy to do that. But the good news is, man, you're going to start feeling better immediately. Immediately. So when we think about practice patterns, some neuroscientists say women think about 85,000 thoughts a day, and about 80% of those are repetitive thoughts. So you're just thinking the same thing over and over. You don't have a lot of new thought going on, a lot of creative thought. It's just the same thing over and over and over again. And of these repetitive thoughts, again, scientists are split, but some say it's as much as 95% of your repetitive thoughts are negative. And part of that is simply because the brain is wired to pay attention and to give value to negativity, because it believes it's keeping you alive. It's a survival mechanism. So it's kind of like your negative thoughts are more sticky. They hang around, right? Kind of like Velcro. It's stick. And positive thoughts are kind of like Teflon. They just slide right off. But if you do the math here, you're probably thinking 60,000 negative thoughts a day, unless we reprogram. Now, let's talk a little bit for a second about blind spots, because your patterns create blind spots. The blind spots that get created basically means this: once your brain has an idea about something, it holds on to that idea even when there's evidence to the contrary. I'll show you a good example. Close your eyes for a second. Close your eyes. And I want you to imagine you're driving down the road and you see a stop sign. And so what I want you to do is, just in your mind, I want you to see the stop sign and tell me, how many sides does it have? You could just yell the answer out. You're right. 8 sides, right? It's an octagon, so 8 sides. And what color? What colors is the stop sign? Red and white. Exactly. So now close your eyes. You guys did good. Oh, by the way, if you want to confirm it, there it is. There's a stop sign. 8 sides, red and white. Okay. Close your eyes. I want you to imagine you're driving down the road and you see a yield sign. Now, when you see the yield sign, just hold it up in your imagination and tell me, how many sides does it have? 3, absolutely. And what colors are a yield sign? Now, if you're like most people in America, you will say yellow and black, but I want you to open your eyes and look at the screen. It's not yellow and black, it's red and white. And the reason you said yellow and black is that somewhere in your past, you either saw a real yellow and black sign, or you saw it in a book, you saw it somewhere, and your brain got a picture. Even though yellow and black yield signs have been gone off of streets in America, every single yellow and black sign has been gone for more than 30 years. You've been driving around looking at red and white yield signs, and your brain has a blind spot. It already has an image of yellow and black. And so what happens is your brain says, never mind, that's not important. I already know the answer to that. You guys getting it? You should be pretty freaked out by now if you said yellow and black. So here's the really important thing. The same thing's happening in your business. If you have a core belief that says, I'm not very good at this, I can't do technology, I'm not good with recruiting people, I don't like to sell, I hate to talk to strangers, whatever it is, that you have a current blind spot around, you have an image in your brain. what's really interesting is you are ignoring all of the new evidence that says you're enough, you're perfect, you can do anything, this is fun, this is easy. Your brain is kind of like squishing all of those ideas and going, no, network marketing, it has people that are recruiting and chasing and harassing, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that pushy salesperson. In other words, you got all this stuff that's getting in the way simply because it's a blind spot for you. You guys got it. So what do? How do we change it? Well, it's simple, right? What we want to do is create brand new thoughts so that those thoughts, and we want to repeat them over and over and over again, so they create new emotions, new actions, and new results. But you have to repeat over time. So you have heard the phrase, 21 days of repetition creates a new habit, right? Do something for 21 days, you got a new habit. Well, the truth is you have a new neural pathway, a new groove in the brain. And if you keep repeating it, yes, you've got a habit, but it's pretty easy to break that habit because it's not deeply ingrained in you. If you repeat patterns for 6 months, consistent, right? Repetitive patterns, we can expand our comfort zone if we repeat things over and over and over for 6 months. If you repeat it for a year, right? The same repetitive new pattern over and over and over again, you can create a life-changing habit. It's something that's strong, right? And compelling. But science is telling us that you really got to repeat a pattern for about 7 years or 10,000 repetitions before you actually have a new neuro identity, a brain identity. It's why people who won the lottery, who were broke, right? Did you know that 80% of the people who start out broke and won the lottery lose the money in 2 years? Mega millions. How do you lose mega millions? 80% of them. Why? It's the same thing. What happens is their brain says, I'm broke. And when the money shows up, the brain doesn't know what to do. They're outside of their comfort zone. And so they just get rid of the money. So we see that pattern over and over and over. People who are heavy, they lose weight. And guess what happens to most of them? They put it back on again in a short period of time. So these habitual patterns, get out of debt, go back into debt, right? Advance your rank, go back down. So we see it over and over and over again. But what we do know is if we can repeat positive patterns enough, all of a sudden the wiring in the brain can become truly a much more permanent feeling behavioral pattern. You guys feeling that? So how we do that are usually neuro tools. And neuro tools, I know you know a lot about hypnotherapy, so I'm not going to talk about it today, but it would be a kind of a neuro tool, right? It's a brain tool. But basically the kinds of tools I want to talk about really quickly are tools that would help you consciously calm the fear center, activate the motivation center, and then move easily into action. So if you want to move into recruiting action, you want to sponsor, you want to invite people to a class, an event of some kind, and you're feeling some fear, here's what's really fascinating and fun is we can silence the fear center. So what you're doing is you're taking that elevated fear and calming it so that you can move easily. If I said to you, can you go walk across the room and pick up a cup of coffee? You'd be like, of course. There's no fear, there's no risk, you just go do it. But if I had you walk across a plank and underneath it, 100 feet below it was a den of alligators, would that change your ability and your ease? And the answer would be yeah, because you'd be focused on something that could go bad, right? Something that could go wrong. Now, I want to tell you one more thing about this. I'm going to give you a neuro tool here in 1 second, but let me tell you something really amazing. When you get an impulse to act, so let's say you're thinking about your business, you're drawing out your income producing activities for the day, and you say, I'm going to call the number one name on my chicken list. I'm going to call Sally today. You get the impulse to act. So there's internally, you have the desire, and then there's this energy that goes, I'm going to do that today. Okay. You have a 3 to 5 second window to act with ease. So when you get the impulse, the intuition gives you a clue, you should do this right now. If you respond in that tiny little window, guess what? Action's easy, okay? So the reason for that is because the motivation center of the brain is winning, right? And you just, boom, you just move right into that energy. And your motivation center of the brain is kind of pulling you forward. But if you hesitate, then the fear center wins. So what we need is a tool, a neuro tool, that when fear shows up, you can calm the fear down and move into action, right? So one of the things I like to do is I like to teach people a really simple neuro tool. And by the way, all of my neuro tools are paired with essential oils, because the thing that's really important about brain tools is that the more sensory rich it is, the more senses that it engages, the easier it is for the brain to anchor in anything new, right? So if I asked you, what's the best oil that you guys have for action, for motivation, for inspiration, for happiness, for joy? In other words, you could pick any oil that you know supports an emotional response that we want to move into action with. Here's what you would do. You take your essential oil, put it in your palms, right? You take a big breath, and then as you're doing that, you would do a finger roll. And here's a finger roll. Take your thumb and your first finger, put it together and say, I can.
Mom's Zoom call.
Hey, welcome. So put your first finger and thumb together and say, I can. Good, you guys doing that. Now take your second finger and put it together and say, I will. I will. Now put your third finger and your thumb together and say, I am. So we're going to anchor in a little mantra that says, I can achieve this goal. I can approach that woman. I can do what I'm inspired to do. And then I will do what it takes. I will face my fears. I will step into action right now. And then the third finger, I am enough. I am perfect in every way. I am more than enough. I'm smart enough, beautiful enough. I've got everything I need. I can, I will, I am. What we're doing is we're anchoring in powerful, positive statements. And then now, that when you say now and snap your finger, that is your get up and move into action. I can, I will, I am, now. You guys, something really simple like this can transform your business, because in the moment you need it, the very moment right here, right now that I absolutely need it, boom, I have it. You guys got it. All right. So I did that as fast as I could do. I just barely made 30 minutes, but I want to show you something. If you say, man, Deb, that was fantastic. I need a little bit more. I need a little bit more content. I want to know more about creating mindset shifts in order to elevate my sales and my recruiting confidence. I want to become a 10 so I can attract 10s. If you want a little bit more, guys, I want to invite you to test out or try out this webinar, right? Here's the link right here, and we will put it in the chat box. But this webinar link is going to give you access to a free webinar, hour-long, lots of training, lots of neuro tools that will give you a feeling really of what it would be like to access mindset training around your business. And if you guys say, well, I don't want any more training, but I'd like to at least stay connected, you could go to icaninstitute.com. That's my website. And guys, you can download some free neuro tools there. So I just want you to know there's more resources. I tried to pack in absolutely positively as much as I can fit. But Carol, let me come back to you. Thoughts, comments, anything extra you want to add while we're all here together right now?
I love it. I love that you can give just really simple tools that can help just make that brain activity the counteraction for the brain, right? That counteraction, because it's so easy to just get so programmed to think a certain way, act a certain way.
Yeah. So what oil would you suggest that people use to move into action? If they were going to use one of these tools, what would be the oil that you
Motivation.
feel like?
That one's awesome.
Kind of a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that we do, Carol, at live events is we actually have people, they bring their oils, you know, and we do an anchor like that. And while we're anchoring, we're doing some kind of breakthrough activity, like breaking a board, something like that. And what's amazing is as people begin to anchor using their own essential oils, it changes their relationship with the oils as well, because now the brain is anchoring in different action and different energy with different oils. So powerful stuff and a great support.
Great. What is your coaching program like?
Well, all my coaching programs are memberships, monthly memberships. And the reason for that is that I want to give people all the tools they need. So when you join a membership, the best membership is our gold membership. And it allows people to come in for $69 a month. So it's about a cup of coffee a day, basically. But what it allows you to do is you access live coaching every Monday. I get on, you know, every Monday and I can answer questions and coach people. You get access to all of my business mindset classes. So you pick any content, you're like, wow, I really would love to shift my mindset around money, or I want to shift my mindset around recruiting. Whatever it is, you can take that business mindset class. Plus you have access to all of the Neuro tools. There's almost 60 Neuro tools now. And the Neuro tools are available on your phone, right? So any place you have wireless connection, you can get on and do a search and say, I need a tool that's going to help me get over procrastination, or I need Deb's coaching around, you know, whatever you're thinking or facing at the moment. And so all of that is inside that gold membership. And actually, Carol, you know that first link I gave them for the webinar? If they go to that webinar, they can try the gold coaching membership out, the one that's $69 a month. They can try it for $1 for a week. So I tried to remove, you know, all of the risk and let you jump in and try some of my coaching and try some of my classes for $1 for a week, so that you can check it out and see what you think, see if it helps, and see if it really supports you.
Great. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Anyone else have any questions that joined us? I know more people will watch it later. But anybody? No? Right.
So if you guys go and check out that webinar, you can also email me and ask me questions that way. I don't want you to feel like it's a now or never kind of thing. What we wanted to do today was to give you a taste of what this kind of training can look like, and give you an opportunity to play more if you want.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome, Carol. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thanks.
All right, guys.
Good night.
Yep. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.